I think there's a very, very fine relationship between those two men, and I think maybe even a difficult one for Ben at this point, but it's business.
Yeah, so Gareth, you talked about Usyk. You said a few names there. It's crazy about how the last fight of these heavyweights has sort of changed the momentum of the division. Anthony Joshua, people were saying he was down and out. Deontay Wilder was still this big bronze bomber. People are saying now he might be retiring. Tyson Fury had a less than impressive performance. What do you make of the changing cogs in the heavyweight division?
Well, we didn't have evidence that Joshua was advancing. He was trying to be more technical, but he wasn't advancing in terms of having that physical dominance that he does have over a lot of people. But we saw it last night. We saw a clear indication of he can get better. I know it's always style to make fights, but I don't think... I think the question was always, can he get over being tentative in the ring? We know how powerful he is. And I think if that fighter had had that strategy against Franklin and Helenius, he'd have put them away quickly. I don't think there's any doubt that he's got the athletic capabilities, but it's whether he could put them into action. I really do think it's this relationship with him and Ben Davison. I spoke to Ben this week. Well, Ben didn't do a lot this week, but I spoke to him during the week, and I spoke to him last week before they left, and he was saying, honestly, he's dismantling sparring partners. They were running out of them. And when Ben was over here and I spoke to him in midweek, and I just kept it back till the day of the fight, he was saying that don't be surprised if Joshua dismantles Wallin, because he knows exactly what he's got to do, and that's exactly what he did. So therefore, and I believe Ben is a very credible trainer, and you remember I spent a lot of time around Ben with Tyson Fury when he nursed him back to full health and fitness, helping lose 10 stone, in those days from early 2017 into his comeback in 2018, 19 and so on. It's a really weird one though if Joshua ends up facing Tyson Fury and Ben Davison's in his corner. It wouldn't surprise me now either, because I think there's a very, very fine relationship between those two men, and I think maybe even a difficult one for Ben at this point, but it's business. It's a sport, it's a business. So, at the end of the day, it's not about... I want to see those two in the ring now anyway. I'd love to see Fury beat Usyk, and but again, Wilder didn't beat Parker, did he? But Fury beats Usyk, and Joshua beats Hrgovic. Imagine those two fighting for the undisputed as well, maybe late in the year next year. Even though there's a 2-fight deal between Usyk and Fury. So the point being, if we're going to get Joshua and Fury, it might have to be at the very end of the year. Okay. If Fury and Usyk fight in February the 17th, give them 5 months, July, and then they can have an end-of-year fight. So it's great though.
Are we ruling, and I do want to talk about Joseph Parker and give him his latest segment, because he totally deserves it after last night's performance, but in this case, are we ruling Deontay Wilder out completely after what we saw last night? No,
but he needs to get back in the win column, and he needs a knockout, or he needs to look very good. The game plan, the skills, the calculated, cool, composed Joseph Parker won that fight. And like you, I've seen him today, and he looks fantastic, and he feels fantastic. It was a brilliant performance. He's got a couple of he's feeling it a little bit on the back of his head. I think he might have taken a couple of blows there when they were tied up. But he completely and utterly nullified the right hand of Deontay Wilder and landed that big overhand right himself loads of times. And really, in the last round, he went into a bit of it. He started to embrace a war in the last round for a minute, and then he got caught, I think, and thought a bit better of it. But what a great star he's been out here. And again, as they throw the bits up in the Super League and they all land on the chessboard, he could fight Agit Kabayel. Andy Ruiz is coming back into the frame. He's been out here, spoke to Andy last night. There's so many great fights that could be made. Parker could fight Joshua again. Parker could fight Usyk. There's all these fights that need to happen. But I think Wilder needs to get in the win column. He's kind of said on the one hand he's not retiring, he ruled it out immediately, but he's also said in another interview, if I do retire now, then I've had a great career. I think he'll have 2 or 3 more fights. And his wife Tally Swift told me last night that I'm happy for him to fight to 40, but that's it. I think he's 39 next year, isn't he? But listen, you can't take anything away from what Joseph Parker did. And Wilder boxed 1 round in the ring in a competitive fight in the last 26 months, since going 11 rounds with Tyson Fury in a brutal fight, remember? Brutal, bruising heavyweight fight. So I think he had ring rust. It might be a little bit weather worn now. As I say, he's 39 next year. He's not a big heavyweight. He's all about explosive power. He's not a technician. And he couldn't find his way into the fight last night. The only time he did was when Malik Scott. I was fortunate enough, because I was doing the broadcast, to be able to listen into the corner and hear the microphones during in the minute between rounds. And Malik said, throw the jab and the uppercut, and he tried that in the 6th, and it worked. Okay. But Parker didn't let him, didn't allow that space, pressed him the whole time. Brilliant performance.
Andy Lee tweeted about it, and I think somebody sort of said, like, on Twitter, that Deontay Wilder wasn't throwing the right. Andy Lee responded back by saying, we were fighting fire with fire. So Jose Parker was stopping him and nullifying that right hand. How much of this edition of Andy Lee has changed Jose Parker from what we saw a couple of years ago? Yeah,
Andy Lee's changed. I mean, he's a brilliant technician. You can hear it when he does commentary. He kind of gives away an awful lot that he knows. But also George Lockhart's made a difference. Well, George Lockhart, who sounds like the American version of John Fury, with that booming deep voice. He did it for UFC fights, helped them cut weight, then does their nutrition for them as well, and he's been brilliant for Joseph, and Joseph ascribes to that himself. You'll hear him say that. For about a year, his body's looked amazing, his skin glows, but Andy Lee, as you mentioned, right to mention him, he's a brilliant addition for Parker. He was with Kevin for a very long time, and the team from New Zealand, and he probably did need a break, and I think it's helpful for him that he's up in that Fury mix as well, up in Morecambe, up in Lancashire for the fights as well, and for his fight camps. I think it all helps. And I suppose in a weird way, even though a lot was kind of laughed about when Tyson Fury said, I've given him the advice, just avoid the right hand. That's kind of what he did. And he kind of went in and under it. And Wilder he managed to, the way Joseph was moving, he was smothering that right and going under it every time. So Wilder was actually smothering his own work by diving in. Parker never gave him that space. He was drilled brilliantly. It was a great performance. I think it's his career best, because it was so clean. I was sitting with him in the Bedouin tent over there earlier, having a chat with him, a couple of photos, one on my Instagram, me in the Bedouin tent with him here in the Crown Plaza. I just thought he was... that's a career best performance for me, the way he handled Wilder. And I'm not going to buy this stuff from people that, Wilder's a one-trick pony. He's a really dangerous man. Everyone apart from Parker, he's knocked down. Parker's the first fighter in Wilder's career who hasn't been knocked down by him. But it took him twice to do Bermain Stavern. The first time, you know, I think that was when he won the world title, yeah. But he used his jab that night, if you recall. The next time, he just smashed him to bits.
So what goes on with Parker then in this division that's moving forever, and it seems like he's put his name in the hat now for for a big fight. Yeah. What does Parker do? Where can Parker
Well, I think they can put Parker in with Andy Ruiz. They can put him in with Agit Kabayel. That's a really good matchup. I mean, who else is there in the group? Hrgovic again, if Joshua's going elsewhere. There's so many big matchups. Parker's in the top 8 now in the world in the tournament in this situation. It's brilliant. They've created a Super League. It's almost like if you can be in the top 8 or the top 12 or the top 10 in the division, you're going to be coming back here for 2 fights a year. It's amazing for them all. It's an amazing period to be in. We have to treasure and savour being here, because the Saudi Arabian investment, the money, the desire to make it happen, the passion of His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh and his team to want to do this, even right up to the head of the government, Mohammed bin Salman, wanting to make this a visionary period. We're so lucky that boxing's a part of it.
Quickly before I let you go, Francis Ngannou is a name that seems to be bandied about for Anthony Joshua. Talk to me about that one quickly.
Against any of them in the top 10, I'd watch it. Yeah.
I think a lot would. Thank you very much, Gareth. I know you've got a cab coming, that's why we've got to call it a show, but thank you so much for giving me your time. Enjoy your Christmas, have a good year, and I'll catch you in 2024.
Pleasure, my brother. Always a pleasure.
Thank you so much.